a whole new season on our hands, a whole new tournament.
Expect the unexpected. It never happens as it should.
It's something in the Contenders' water, but this shows you how close in skill a lot of these teams are. It's absolutely insane.
The pole slam dunk on the Surmajet, he's gone!
Dynasty, what a way to secure the bag.
Shockwave's turning around?
Wow.
Where did Shockwave find those 2 kills to take out the supporters of Hurricane?
Speedly popping up. Why is this the Speedly show every time we see this pick from Speedly? The Echo and then getting enabled by OG. It's actually insane.
But his shield is broken.
Oh,
He doesn't
goodness.
jump around the corner with the shatter, and they couldn't even use Transcendence.
Here comes Eyes with a Deadeye finds 2 again. Constantly finding these picks.
This is hit scan pop-off territory. Iced is in his element.
Jakaru comes rolling through to find a third as he takes out both the supports. One more for him, that's 4K for Jakaru against the British Hurricane.
But look at how British Hurricane's gonna try to win those fights. Just like that!
Poco going a little loco here, finding 5.
Poco just caught health completely off guard.
Cloudy charges it to Adam.
The LKO out of nowhere.
Johnny on the 3rd time as well.
Johnny is a Lucio to be reckoned with.
Twirls more energy to grab on the high ground so they can't touch.
Twos. What a huge brain on this lad.
Someone needs to clip the wings of this Farah.
People could say that they saw this coming. There's no shot you saw it happening the way that it did.
That was just history we watched right there.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another day of Overwatch Contenders. I'm Vicky Kitty, and I'm with Hurix, and we're going to be taking you through the action for our first series of the day. We're here in Europe, and it's going to be British Hurricane versus SHU'SMONEYCREW.
Yeah, this is the first time actually this week in this tournament that we actually get to see British Hurricane. They had a bye in the first round. There was only 7 teams in this tournament due to some things going on with Fusion University, but moving on after that, we will have that other semifinal game, winner's side of the bracket, EXO taking on Falcons Esports. Falcons Esports has been a dominant team so far this year. They dominated Olden Board as well in their first round, but EXO surprised, I think, a little bit by being able to take out Sheer Cold, the team that took 3rd last month. So I'm excited to see how they can handle Falcons Esports in our match that will come after this one.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that plays out. Specifically, Falcons Esports, the team that had sent, I believe, British Hurricane down to the lower bracket just last month. So while we get set up within this series, British Hurricane are looking a lot more mortal going into this year. Of course, their roster changing things up. Some of the members from British Hurricane going up to the London Spitfire, Vestola going over to the Paris Eternal. I mean, a lot of this Overwatch League talent is just coming from British Hurricane, and that's what they want to keep going. Why don't we take a look at the starting roster for today at British Hurricane? And it's no surprise, of course, here. It's no change. They got a bye just yesterday, so they didn't get to keep their hands warm. And I'm wondering if that's going to affect them going into the semifinals now, as SMC, they had a pretty good fight versus Raspberry Racers just yesterday.
Yeah, I think that was a good test for SMC. But looking at British Hurricane, before we get into all of that, something that should be noted is that British Hurricane, obviously with London Spitfire, they have a couple of 2-ways. They have a couple of different options that they could go with for the hit scan role specifically. This time around, we are going to see hybrid. Of course, Fenzi is still on this roster. It was a new addition last tournament. There was some question marks, I think, last tournament as to whether or not British Hurricane had enough time to be able to get ready. Well, clearly they did. They won the last tournament, came out in first place. And now they have had even more time. And I was talking to some members of British Hurricane. Pretty much all of them are saying that they feel even more confident this tournament than they did last tournament. And that's, I mean, there's a lot to be said about that level of confidence because they were quite confident last time that I talked to them a month ago. So I'll be curious to see how good they look today. SHU'SMONEYCREW, though, is a team that really stepped up their performance, I think. Obviously, they've been, one of these teams that has been in the upper half for a considerable amount of time. I mean, pretty much the entire year already. And it doesn't look like there's any indication that they're going to slow down, Vicky. And I think a lot of that is because of the fact that they've been built around this player, Danid, who used to be on British Hurricane last year. And he has a plethora of talent, specifically on things like Doom. And we've even seen the Torb from him.
Oh, yeah. You take a look at this roster, and with Smex coming in, too, to be that off-tank, Alex, taking a departure from SHU'SMONEYCREW, this is going to be a different look from SMC. I'm expecting great things from this team because I feel like they've just needed a lot of time to kind of work out those wrinkles that they have within their synergy. They didn't do so well last month, too. I believe they had gotten 5th place out of the 8 European teams that we were able to see within the bracket, and they don't want to lose this time around going down to that lower bracket because last time they lost in that losers round, too. So against a team like British Hurricane, and you mentioned the overwhelming confidence that they now have, that's a scary situation to be in if you're SMC.
Yeah, I think with SMC, again, a lot relies on Danid, I think, in a lot of their matchups. I mean, you look back in March, and I mean, they were built around going Doomfist in the Rush meta, and they've continued to kind of have that. They've certainly become more and more versatile as time has gone on, and they have more talent than just Danid. It would be disingenuous to portray this, I guess, lie that it's just Danid, because it really isn't just Danid. But again, a lot of the interesting kind of factors that teams struggle with are because of what Danid offers. And in some regards, that is the Doomfist. In some regards, that is things like the Torb and some of the other things that he's going to throw out. But there are teams that can deal with it quite well. British Hurricane are a team that have adapted historically well to things like this. And certainly, I would say the team as a whole has a lot of history playing against Danid, and obviously the organization itself has a lot of history with Danid, the player, as he did, as we mentioned, play for them last year.
Yeah. Danid playing for British Hurricane when they were on their terrorizing win streak overall in all of Europe, where they just literally won every single tournament, and Danid was part of that roster. So now that Danid's part of SMC, going into this first series, we're going to be going into Nepal, which is going to be our first map. I'm interested to see if that's going to be used against him, though, Hurix. Danid facing off against his former team, or is it going to actually work out in SMC's favor because Danid has those plans that he could just unwrap for the rest of the team?
Yeah, and I think in this meta, given that there's just so many different things that you could go with, especially on a map like Nepal. I mean, we've seen things like the Ice Wizard composition, the Mace Sim strats that have kind of plagued this meta a little bit. Some tanks not really enjoying that, especially given the fact that a lot of tanks are still playing that lineup of the Rhine and the Diva. So the Reinhardt shield just says that we could possibly start things off for a team, at least on the side of British Hurricane, that we haven't seen all tournament long. We literally haven't seen them yet at all. And then, of course, as well, SMC, a team that has hitting that extra gear right.
Yeah, I actually like how you mentioned the different meta compositions that we've seen so far between both Europe and North America. And we even getting to talk to some of the players to kind of get their interest on what they expect.
He's under pressure, needs to get that Blizzard online, though, for this fight.
I'm gonna talk about Meteor Strike from Danid. He has it online, the sound barrier from both these teams. Oh, but he was behind a wall. That looked like a delayed shatter. It was just an active hitbox all the way through, and Danid actually just rounded the corner in that moment. Health goes down again by Hades, and he gets a pin on Yickets. SHU'SMONEYCREW is looking like the team right now, dominating British Hurricane the second round.
Yeah, this is definitely a much different look for SMC, and we talked about that different gear. Well, this is a couple of gears up for SMC right now, definitely playing up to BH, and you look at this setup that British Hurricane has, and you would expect that this should be a fight win for British Hurricane. They have the Blizzard, they have that wall from Hybrid as well. Window could help out for Hurricane. This should be an easy fight for British Hurricane.
Yeah, that's why they have the photon barrier. But Smex still, and he gets a remap pick? What? They had the photon barrier to help rotate on the point, and it just crumbled before their eyes when Danid took control. And then Smex coming in with the remake. Okay, SMC, they're on another level right now. They couldn't touch the point round one. It looked funny. The wall was just cracked a little open, but just not wide enough for SMC to make their way through. But that second round was dominating.
Yeah, like I said, that last fight, that should have been an easy fight for British Hurricane. That wasn't a lie. That should have been a flipped point in favor of British Hurricane. Going into that fight, the way that they were able to take position, the fact that they had that massive economy advantage, SMC found a weakness and exploited the absolute heck out of it. I mean, that was incredible. SMC is playing so well right now. They have pretty much through all these tournaments except the last one. They got knocked out by British Hurricane. This could very well be a revenge tour for SMC. This really might turn out to be exactly that. But you look at this, British Hurricane coming out with Finzi on Wrecking Ball. Outside of that, it's still the McCree rush, but the Wrecking Ball means that there's going to be a lot of extra disruption. There's going to be some knockups. There's going to be some extra control. And SMC doesn't have a direct way to CC Finzi on this Wrecking Ball, given this lineup of the Sim and the Doom.
Yeah, it's really Danid who could try to do something about that. Hades already been stunned, but it's Sabu who goes down first in this fight. They won't have the immortality field here, but Hades is still finding help constantly. It's usually the first pick that Hades wants to narrow down that focus on, because we were seeing it time and time again. Meanwhile, you talk about Finzi and being a disruptor in the backlines. He's putting on a lot of pressure onto Sana, but those turrets that you have this retro setup may be a problem for Finzi when he wants to go in for those sneaky flanks.
SMC, those pens, you gotta watch out for them. Help staying alive with a little bit of help from Skyrip, who gets the window online. They need this to turn the fight.
Oh my, Hades is going crazy. He gets shut down, but now the rest of SHU'SMONEYCREW can follow up. It's gonna be Smex and Sana that make sure that chatter does not go to waste.
I'm curious about that investment though from Johnny. They did throw that sound barrier out, which means that British Hurricane have that as a potential advantage for this next engage. As Finzi swaps over to the Diva right now. Still, there are some considerations to be made about SHU'SMONEYCREW and the weapons that they have in their arsenal. They have this positional advantage massive. They can drop down on top of British Hurricane. So BH notices this. They go for the rotation, but still, Sana is gonna get this wall up in this fight.
There goes the sound barrier now from Admiral to start the engagement. Danid is the first one to go down, and Hybrid has that Deadeye. But he actually gets called out again with the pins. Health is just getting pinged left to right, and he wants to watch out, but Hades is so low, and no one's dying just yet, because these walls that we're seeing from Yikits is helping split up this fight a little bit, and now Hybrid's going to get in position to go on the backline and activate that Deadeye.
And it's still in this backline, almost left unchecked. Help can't deal with it. And SHU'SMONEYCREW, it's cleanup time already. Something that I'm really liking with this setup, Vicky, is that SMC, they're allowing Danid to go in, take a lot of that initial pressure. British Hurricane are then using a lot of resources to try to slow down Danid, but Danid is so elusive, he gets out anyways, and that's allowing Hades to play up a lot more and force a lot more pressure onto Helv. You see Helv just unable to do anything.
Oh my, the way that Danid just broke apart British Hurricane's plan right there. They were trying to rotate over to the side. Some of them were split up a little bit, but Danid now is the first one to go down, and Hades on the high ground. They teleported up there. He gets saved with the immortality field. A good attempt with a cheeky shatter, but was it worth it? Now you don't have your shield up and you're standing in front of the Ant Matrix. That's going to be a lot of damage. And now British Hurricane could send it forward. They have to worry about the sound barrier, but Smex has been demeched, and Danid is going to get right back into the fight. If Hybrid could get into an angle here, he could try to hold back SMC's approach. They're still trying to flip the point, by the way. Look at this. SMC already at 99% Curix. Overtime ticking away, and British Hurricane haven't even had the opportunity to flip the point once in this third round.
Yeah, this is 2 rounds in a row here, potentially, that they're going to just get 100-0 as Yikits dies off, and there's yet another round here where, again, it's a 100-0 twice in a row in favor of SMC, and again, British Hurricane are dying with ultimates. They're just getting ripped apart at the seams. SMC was just the better team. There's no question about it on this opening map of Nepal.
Yeah, honestly, British Hurricane just got outplayed right there. That was an amazing performance from the rest of SMC. Hades specifically, being able to pressure Helv the way that he did, Helv constantly getting pinned. That means the shield's not up in that time. We saw the double pin coming in front of the Ant Matrix. It was scary all around, but the way that SMC was playing position-wise too, and being able to isolate certain members of British Hurricane that they recognize as weak, that was dominating. And it's great to see a new look at SMC, because British Hurricane have been that terror team in Europe, even though this is a different roster.
Yeah, I mean, this has been definitely, I think for British Hurricane this year, this has been a little bit of a wake-up call that you can't just dominate by being able to pay out more than the other teams. I mean, that has been something that we heard from them last year, but still, they're a really, really solid team. They are #1 from last tournament for a reason. They definitely put together a really, really solid roster. It's about now trying to catch up, trying to get that synergy, and somehow they made it work last tournament. Now they have to step up and try to see if they can do it here. But remember, this is, again, SMC on a revenge tour, at least to a degree here, because last tournament, guess who knocked them out? It was British Hurricane on their road, their journey to make it to that top spot, which they eventually did claim. Now, though, SMC, they recognize this is a totally different tournament. You look at this, the way that this broke down for them, it was an unfortunate ride. SMC took on Raspberry Racers. I mean, this has been nothing but a revenge tour, actually. The only thing left, really, is to just go ahead and take this win against British Hurricane, and they will have beaten out the two teams that knocked them out of the tournament just a month ago.
Yeah, you could consider that SMC sitting in that second round of lower bracket, not really expecting that they had to play British Hurricane then, when after they just beat Fusion University and Falcons Esports just came out of nowhere swinging. I mean, this is the competition that you have here in Overwatch Contenders Europe, and it's only going to get better from here on forward. A lot of these teams are finally getting together, and SHU'SMONEYCREW now leading the map series 1-0. It's first of 3 this time, Hurix, not first of 2 like we usually have in the first day. So there's still opportunity here for British Hurricane to make those adjustments and come back.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I like that first of 3 format too, is because there is a lot of time for that adaptation to take place. And that's how we get the most competitive matches possible. That's where the magic happens. I mean, you see some of the matches that we've had even last tournament, but realistically the last 2 years. And when you see these long form matches, these series that draw out, I mean, that's where you see like those 3-1s that we saw from last tournament just get completely turned on their head, because there is that opportunity for adaptation. And this is a moment where British Hurricane definitely needs something like that. They need to figure out how they're going to deal with this Sim and this Doom strategy that's coming in. Obviously, that high tempo aggression from SMC that they love to play. That's something that British Hurricane, I'm not sure, was fully prepared for it, but they again have that opportunity to go ahead and make these adjustments. They are traditionally pretty good at that, but Danit is just a different monster. I mean, teams all across Europe have always struggled dealing with Danit, especially when he's able to play the Doomfist.
Yeah, it's going to be a terror, but we're going to be moving on to Volskaya Industries. Hurix, do you think we could potentially see Danit make a swap, or are we going to still see the dominating Doomfist from Danit before?
There's no reason why you can't play the Doomfist here. I mean, the thing about Danit and his Doomfist is that just like you could see with Speedily over in NA, or, you know, even Mouthful over in NA, even though we haven't really seen him for quite a long time, but in particular on the 2CP maps, you could just force it. I mean, if you are really that good at the Doomfist, there is opportunity for you to just do it because you want to. And you talked to British Hurricane all of last year, and the numerous winners interviews that we had with British Hurricane when they were just absolutely crushing everyone, you ask, you know, why was Danit playing this comp? And British Hurricane was just like, I mean, because he wanted to. I don't know. There was like no rhyme or reason. It's just whatever he felt like. But there is, I guess, a couple of questions with regards to the approach that SMC could have. Remember, this is British Hurricane's map, but Danit isn't just a Doomfist one-trick. He isn't just a, I guess, even really like a silly hero one-trick, but that is what we often see him playing. You know, things like the Torb, the Mei, all this kind of stuff. Thank you. But,
that's so nice.
Yeah. But SMC have I guess a wealth of heroes that they could pull on Danit to pull out, and one of those could very well be a Mei. It could very well be, you know, a number of different things, but I think British Hurricane have a good approach here. The double shield, I think, is going to really help them lessen the tempo, lessen the pace at which SMC can play, which will allow them to take control over positioning, first of all, that aggression that they were struggling to deal with Hades just popping off, and also positioning the high ground that they weren't able to capture, definitely causing some problems earlier on in Nepal.
I'm wondering here, Hurix, looking at SMC, they were questioning why Finzi had gone ball, and just especially in the Rush comp, so maybe wondering if they're able to trickle down to that mental that British Hurricane are trying to hold on to, because Helv is taking a lot of damage here. Smex is frozen too, by the way. He's actually forced to back off as Yikits is going to try to match Danit on the Mei, but it's Danit who goes down first, and Skyripper is going to meet him in the spawn from British Hurricane, so it's a 5v5 between both these teams, and look at the way that SMC is playing. They're still pulling forward because Sana, we're talking about Danit. Sana is another super solid player, as I said, that he gets killed by Yikits, but he still did a lot of impact there because the rest of SMC are making their way over to the point, and they only have to deal with Hybrid and Finzi here.
Yeah, they have 2 players that they have to deal with. There could be respawns coming in, but remember, there isn't a lot of speed on the side of British Hurricane, really on either side, to be able to get back into position. So they're going to be late to contest, and they're going to be doing so into the window from Sab as well.
Oh no, his Deadeye gets blocked by the wall, but he's forced to drop down. Currently have the kinetic grasp that's able to get built into some of those shields, but now SHU'SMONEYCREW, they've captured the point, and British Hurricane didn't contest. Now that's just going to be free ult charge in favor for SMC, and Sana's feeling himself. They're feeling confident. They're going to carry this over to the point 2.
Remember, there are those changes, though. To CP, these assault maps have those quick respawns, so while British Hurricane is late to the party for the 2nd time in a row here in these fights, they are able to get into position nonetheless, and now it's all about this engage. SHU'SMONEYCREW, massive advantage again going in.
Oh, but currently SMC, they're sandwiched. British Hurricane have the high ground on both sides, and Smex has found the Gravitic Flux. This is the opening that SMC needs. This is their opportunity. But the Blizzard tries to stop their approach, and they're still losing members because Smex is behind them. Smex has been terrorizing the backline. He's not a DPS. He's a tank that should be in the front lines, but he doesn't even need to be. He knows the rest of SMC got this because he's too busy with Sana terrorizing British Hurricane. Hybrid gets sent back, and what is this? SMC just trying to speedrun their way through the point. British Hurricane making some swaps. They're definitely going to be able to contest, and now SMC are going to have to reset, but 2 ticks already, Yurix.
That looked like SMC's point to take. That actually looked like we were going to see SMC just stampede over British Hurricane on their map pick of Volskaya. You're seeing a couple of swaps here, actually, from the side of SMC, just to match what we saw from British Hurricane, these changes that are being made. Something to note, there is a big difference here. Danid does have Johnny to help him out with that Mercy on the Echo, and you see already, again, another adaptation instantly. Yikid's going over to the Tracer. That's definitely going to help them get into the background, or back line rather, put some pressure down, also actively contest and help British Hurricane stagger some of these fights out long enough where they can get advantages through respawn.
Oh, but now the Dragons are actually going to force them to back off a little bit. And great synergy, but Hybrid's found Sana's head. He comes out on top, and the Hanzo ditto. And now SHU'SMONEYCREW are playing at a disadvantage with no DPS. Skyrip finding Dan too, the supercharger, going to be able to be enough. Great immortality field, but everyone's getting melted down with all of this damage coming in from British Hurricane. Meanwhile, you still have Smex finding all these picks, but SHU'SMONEYCREW don't have the Orisa. They don't have that main tech. They don't have a shield to retreat to, and it's going to have to be a reset with British Hurricane winning this next team fight, holding this defense as they take down that time away from SMC.
I think with SMC, if they can just be a little bit more explosive from the start, that'll be enough for Smex to kind of carry them through the rest of the way. I mean, Smex has just been absolutely deadly on this point B so far here at Volskaya. This Sigma player is just absolutely popping off, and now I think the question becomes, can you deal with some of these backline threats? Can Sana check Hybrid now that they're not on Hanzo? Instead, they're on the Ashe, so that SMC can get in without getting picked off in the opener.
Oh, but look at Yikid's here, Hurix. He has the Pulse Bomb. He knows where SMC's positioned on that high ground. Maybe just trying to isolate one of the backline members. Sana is on that Ashe, and as they drop down, he tries to utilize a Pulse Bomb, but Smex eats it like it's breakfast. Yikid's having to be careful there, because Smex has definitely been on his toes. This player is just insane. Johnny has a Valve, can help keep the sustainability online for the rest of SMC, but they have to worry about Danon, and this is SMC now making their way over. They're so close to getting that third take, and British Hurricane, no more members left to contest on that point.
You'll have to give some credit over to British Hurricane, though. That could have been like a 4:30 take, and they were able to drain off 2.5 more minutes with only 1 tick left to capture. This time around, though, 2:03 for SMC, and remember, SMC, they looked good throughout that attack until they got halted. But nonetheless, British Hurricane, it's their turn to attack, time to set a time if they can. SMC, though, again, Smex has just been absolutely lights out. Last map, Danid and Hades were having their little highlight reels coming through. I mean, I definitely just want to reiterate the fact that we've seen SMC hit a different gear this tournament, it seems. I mean, they are definitely looking like a contender for a finalist. I mean, they could definitely go that far with the way that they're playing in this match right now.
Yeah, to further highlight SMC, each individual player has already had their moments, and it's just the second round of match number 2. So looking at the way they're playing, if they continue to play to their individual strengths that are just coming together like a puzzle piece, British Hurricane, they may want to adapt a little bit. I mean, they were able to hold the SMC in those last 2 engagements until the very end, but the moment SMC gets explosive, that's when it starts looking like British Hurricane's in trouble. So Yikits knows what Danny wants to go for. Yikits has made that adaptation. We saw him swap over to the Tracer. Let's see if British Hurricane can help work together into doing the same thing going into this next round as they're on the attack.
To see how British Hurricane wants to do this, because they are going to take this teleport left side, meeting up with Fenzi and Admiral, who are already there. But yeah, SMC knows. Now it's about switching position. Can they get moved over and into place? And it doesn't seem like they're really able to get exactly where they want to go just yet, which means Hurricane can use the second teleporter, get in behind them, free kill on Smek. Massive opportunity for BH.
Oh, that was great. They saw Smex, they took the opportunity. That was their goal, it looked like the whole time. That's why they were waiting on the teleporter to come back, and Hybrid canceling out that teleporter the moment the rest of British Hurricane took it. Now Hybrid being in this fight longer is crucial, because these Maywalls, these shields coming out, that's going to build into this beam damage that is going to terrorize SMC, melt them away, and British Hurricane wasting no time to speed run their attack to take this first point.
Yeah, this is something that we always see with British Hurricane, and it almost feels like it's always these hell teams. You look back at Obey Alliance at the end of last year, and they were just like this as well. When the sim is involved, there's so much creativity. There's absolutely so much creativity. The way that they're utilizing that teleport to get into position to really catch their opponents off guard. I mean, there was 3 different teleports that were used to make that play happen, and now there's a lot of pace set here by British Hurricane to step up and try to deal with SMC and see if they can lock in a really solid time here. Something to make note of, though, Sana on the Pharah, and British Hurricane don't have a direct answer for it. There's a lot of splash damage that's going to come in that Skyrippa has to deal with here.
Yeah, they would have to deal with this fight and then make adjustments afterwards if they just happen to fail here. And they also have to worry about Johnny, who's on that Mercy, to help boost Sana's damage. Danny taking a lot of damage himself here, though. He has the Blizzard. He's going to utilize it right here. Helm is going to let loose with the Shatter, and Danny is caught in the trajectory. Going to contest that with Yikit's Blizzard, but he's also low, but the Sound Barrier, saves him, but it doesn't save Helm, but it doesn't matter. British Hurricane have already cleaned up SMC. They're down 3 members, and Danny's coming back on the Doomfist.
I'll have to see if Dan can clean things up. Sana's getting dangerously close to getting his ultimate online, but nobody touches.
No one's on there. Yo, oh my god.
That's the second time in this series that SMC had the opportunity, and they let it go by just being unable to touch. I think that might have been a little bit of a miscommunication with one of the tanks coming back and saying that they might be able to touch, but then they got kind of stopped short just a little bit, and SMC just didn't have anybody in position to take the baton away and step on. But I mean, that's definitely giving a little bit of a flashback to Nepal Village earlier, where we saw that exact same thing happen. Wall came up from British Hurricane, and SMC just didn't take the opportunity to step on.
I love it. Love it. British Hurricane, shout out to their socials. Great team too, to come out with some nice graphics and nice videos. All of Europe has those amazing video editors.
Yeah, SMC is solid as heck.
Yeah,
too.
SMC has amazing videos. That's what I live for. In between those tournaments that we have monthly, those videos are what make my day, straight up. Sometimes they all come out in one bunch too, where we get like 4 teams to announce their roster at once, and we have like 4 fire videos. You know, if you guys want to keep up with that action, make sure you guys subscribe down below. There's some more Overwatch Contenders action going on throughout the day. It's going to go on tomorrow. It's all around great T2 talent to watch. British Hurricane now are the ones on the defense, and they're doing this double shield composition to match that of SMC.
Yeah, British Hurricane. Certainly, it's no surprise that we see this comp coming out again here. SHU'SMONEYCREW, though, they're going to go ahead and match it. And last time around, in a lot of these mirror setups, SMC came out ahead. Sana versus Hybrid, definitely a little bit more of a 50-50, but when you saw what Smex was able to accomplish, the space created, the opportunities made out of thin air, now we'll see a different approach, though, from British Hurricane. They stayed much further back in this defense.
Yeah, they're playing a lot more passively here. They're more passive aggressive because now you see actually somebody taking the back angle. Meanwhile, Son is just trying to check that flank, and Hybrid's popping off because it was Hybrid who was the one that was able to pressure those back lines. Gets the double stun, but he rolls right onto the health pack. The rest of British Hurricane now have taken control around SMC, and they're going to be able to hold this defense.
I would say it's almost a little surprising there that SMC did take full advantage of the fact that Sana had the best position in that fight. Over top of that pack, right next to the point, Sana was able to have a clear line of sight on the entire backline, had Skyrup down at like 10% HP, just couldn't get that kill. And that was something that we've seen a lot of teams struggle with, just leaving targets at 10% and not able to actually convert and coming up short because of it. Now British Hurricane, though, you can see again that passive approach, staying far back, waiting for those opportunities to get their shields back up before they press forward.
They're actually going to just patiently wait around this Ant Matrix. You can see them holding the wall a little bit, but they also have to worry about Hybrid, this Deadeye that he has, and a Supercharger to add on to that. So those are two ultimates that British Hurricane have over SMC at the moment.
You can see Hybrid already moving into that flank. Definitely wants to step to the left to try to get that same kind of control over the fight, but as SMC steps forward, they might have bought enough time to get some ultimates out, but with Specs, I don't know if they have the same success level.
Yeah, I think he was actually trying to go for a sneaky flank that he did before when they were on the attack for the second point, and he actually got called out. Great adaptation from Hybrid there, noticing, but British Hurricane have lost both of their tanks. Now it's just up to the rest of British Hurricane with these 2 DPS and the supports to hold it down. Finzy making a desperate swap over to the ball, but SMC too, with Smegs, gonna get back into the action quickly. Hybrid still going unchecked, and the rally for the rally, Hurix, is it gonna be enough to help maintain this team? It's not. They get off the point. Look how close Smex was too.
Yeah, Smex was right there. Got knocked off. Couldn't get back into that ball for him. But that's 2 minutes. Remember, SMC almost capped with like 4.5. That would have been a very, very similar time bank to what British Hurricane were able to acquire just moments after. But British Hurricane has done well to kind of shift the momentum back into their favor halfway through this match so far, or rather this map. And it seems like British Hurricane are just moments away from equalizing in this series 1-1 here on Volskaya. The British Hurricane right now, I mean, I don't think there's any question of what's to come. I think with what we saw from their last attack, there's no reason not to go with that rush comp. Whether it be with the Sim Mei, whether it be with, any number of DPS that they could pull out, at least at the core, the rush comp is going to be what's going to find the success here, more likely than not. Remember, they don't necessarily need to just outright clear the point. I mean, that's effectively what's going to happen. But SMC needs to play differently. They need to bear in mind the fact that not only do they need to make sure that they're constantly thinking of the fight as an overall objective, that they have to win, otherwise they lose, obviously, but also that they cannot lose positional control of the objective itself, because only 1 tick needs to be captured for British Hurricane to equalize here.
And they have 4 minutes and 35 seconds to work with at that, Hurix. So
much time.
There's so much time for them to just go for these creative rotations, especially if they opt to stick with the Symmetra pick, which it's looking like they are. And SMC, they're giving a lot of respect to British Hurricane because this team has already made some adjustments going into this map, and that's why this team is so scary. Look how quickly they are to get aggressive. They're going to already rotate from behind SMC on the high ground.
You can see Hurricane getting into that same position that they were just playing from moments ago on their defense, but still with over 4 minutes. Now it's time to get deep into the back line.
Oh, they did. Oh no, Hybrid got left behind, and now the rest of SMC jumped down, but this is actually going to sandwich them. Helm is out, but they trade that for Johnny and Sab. British Hurricane now have already set up with the Symmetra, and Hybrid is charged at full force. Smegs gets melted down, and this damage that's going to come out from Hybrid, it's just going to be too much. It's going to be Freelo with the British Hurricane taking that first take uncontested. They take map number 2, and now we are tied 1-1 between SMC and British Hurricane.
And a lot of that came down, I think, to set up plays from Hurricane. They knew going into it that their rush comp, especially with that Symmetra, was looking really, really good, and they felt confident about taking that map. But if you even look back a little bit at some of the things that SMC were able to accomplish, particularly on their attacking phase, their first one, I mean, SMC is still a team that we have to consider as a potential finalist in this tournament. So there's no question that what we have right here, Vicky, is a very, very good series ahead of us. This could definitely go the entire distance. Guys, stay tuned because, of course, we only have 2 maps down. There are a fair few left to come, and we'll see you after this break.
Are you a person? Do you like watching Overwatch Contenders? Are you subscribed to the Overwatch Contenders YouTube channel? Well, why not start now? By hitting the subscribe button and bell icon, you can support your favorite Tier 2 players and teams as they climb their way up the path to pro. Yeah, just like that, friendly Contender skin-wearing Mercy player, hit that bell. Hit that subscribe button and bell icon today. Hey Mercy, you only have to hit it once.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. We're in the middle of an intense series here in Overwatch Contenders Europe. British Hurricane versus SMC EU. They're currently tied 1-1 here, and we're moving on to a map number 3.
Yeah, this one is going to be SMC's map pick, though, for the first time in the series. And now SMC, well, they choose Eichenwald. And this right here, I think, is a little bit of a cause for concern, I think, for British Hurricane, especially given the fact that we've seen SMC just have so many good looks. I mean, there's so many options that they could have going into this map, and on everything that we've seen SMC play, they have actually done quite well in a lot of those mirrors. The only time we've really seen them struggle is when British Hurricane is playing stuff like the Rush, especially with that Mei involved, and they just come out ever so slightly ahead of SHU'SMONEYCREW. But if you can get away from that, if you involve some of these other strategies and force a lot of that pressure onto dealing with Hades, dealing with Danid, and some of these really solid players that are playing at their peak right now, then that's going to be a threat to British Hurricane's success rate. Has to be.
Yeah, I'm wondering if British Hurricane's going to opt to go for those tricky angles again, or if we're going to see a different look from British Hurricane now that we're moving on to Hybrid. Eichenwald being our next map also makes me see if British Hurricane have made some of those adjustments after that map 2. It definitely looked like it, especially since they were playing a lot more passive-aggressive, opting to go for different rotations. And that could spell doom for SHU'SMONEYCREW if they can't replicate the same, because although they had a dominating performance in that first map, we talk a lot about Danid, and how he was able to help open things up. But Hades and Sana were also individually just being able to pop off. In that second map, we saw Smex get into a really good backline angle where he was able to pressure British Hurricane. I'm expecting something similar from SMC, but if British Hurricane have already downloaded SMC, that's going to be a troublesome time.
Yeah, I think definitely it really comes down to map manipulation. That's what you see a lot of the value being added, like you said already with Smex. A lot of that came down to his ability to manipulate the map and get in behind and on top, actually, rather, of the opposing side of British Hurricane. But beyond that, again, you talk about British Hurricane and what they've looked their best at. It's been that sim strategy with Mei and, straight up playing like Ice Wizard stuff. I mean, that has been some of their best looks so far. But you can't really rely on that every map. That's the issue right now with this meta, is that there's so many things that are viable, but also so many really strong comps are only at their strongest on maps that are specifically catered to that style. Not everyone is going to really cater to British Hurricane. You just sim TPing around and trying to get in the face of SMC where there's no options for kiting or rotation. And even moreover than that, SMC, we know that there are some instances where we could see them take that battle straight to British Hurricane and try to involve Danid instead on pulling out the Doomfist and playing some of these more close quarter maps where they can get value out of that pick. And even in that kind of mirror where that is the only difference, where Danid is on the Doomfist, we even saw in Nepal Village that could have swung the way of SMC. So British Hurricane are certainly not out of it just yet. And now with SMC having the opportunity to pick this map, I don't think they're going to be out of it anytime soon.
Also have to wonder here, as both these teams get set up, British Hurricane having a lot of those tools to be able to adapt here. Johnny's Mercy is absolutely phenomenal too. That was great, being able to give in some of that backup to Danid, specifically Sana too, that we had seen make some of those swaps. That was another thing. Those mid-game swaps that SMC was able to retaliate with British Hurricane doing the same, just on the fly like that.
It was on both sides too.
Yeah.
Both these teams just like on the fly, just making these adjustments. You saw Yikids do the same thing when we saw Danid and Johnny actually make that adaptation to Echo Mercy to deal with Yikids Bear Echo. And then Yikids was like, okay, well, I'm just like not even going to deal with that because there's no shot I'm going to win a 1v2 in the skies where he's pocketed. So he goes over to Tracer and changes up the way that we see those fights take place. The dynamic entirely shifts dramatically. But talk about the dynamic here. Well, SHU'SMONEYCREW coming out with that rush against Sana on the McCree, but Danid is indeed playing the Doomfist. They're going to be trying to play up to British Hurricane here. Watch for this wall, though. Yikids could definitely turn the tides in these fights by walling off Danid, walling off Hades or Smex. There's a lot of opportunity for British Hurricane to create isolation.
Oh, but look how quickly British Hurricane is rotating thanks to Admiral, but Danid dumps Yikids the moment they turn the corner. He was ready for them. It's because he was actually peeking on the other side to make sure if they were going to actually speed boost their way over to the side, and they did. Danid actually catching him off guard forces the rest of British Hurricane to back off.
British Hurricane have to look out for that. They have to be able to mark Danid. Once you hear those cooldowns being used, there are some audio cues. Have to be able to instantly turn, pressure out Danid, make sure that you can absorb that impact, and it's very, very difficult. I mean, they have a tough job ahead of them, especially when it's Danid of all people on the Doomfist, but that's the task at hand, and that's what you have to deal with.
I also have to worry about Sana here, who's on this backline. The wall's going to block them, though. And here comes the rest of British Hurricane that are going to be able to take full control over that space that the wall built up for them. Go around the corner. Here comes Finzi just trying to find any one of SMC's isolated members in that house. And Johnny's the first one to go down. Hybrid popping up. Also finding Hades as he tried to pin away, get out of position. British Hurricane, they've essentially spread out SMC, and I felt like SMC just got too overwhelmed there. They're already going to get this payload moving.
That's a perfect example of what I was talking about. Creating isolation through Yikids, then taking out Danid from the equation. We have a quick pause here. British Hurricane took that first map personally. Well, they better have. I mean, they definitely had to have stepped things up just a little bit to be able to get some value back in to this match. And What we're seeing now is a different look from British Hurricane and a better look, I think, from British Hurricane, able to deal with Danid, much like we saw them dealing on Nepal Village, but I think more concisely now. They had that one slip up, but as soon as they caught that, now they're looking a little bit better. I think the question now is, can they continue to do that? Because against Danid, not many teams can.
Yeah, I think British Hurricane just have all the tools in their pockets to just make that adaptation, and we're seeing it in full force now. We're seeing the way that British Hurricane are playing right now. They lost one member, they didn't even want to contest. They maybe traded a little bit, but they backed off immediately afterwards because they didn't want SMC to build more ultimates than they already had when they got that first pick, because they wanted to ensure that they could rotate as quickly as possible and use Yikid's wall, like you mentioned, to create that space. And it was perfect timing too, because the Ant Matrix was online. We saw that come out from Sab, and not only did they negate that Ant Matrix, but then they also were able to take the opportunity to rotate on the other side of the wall. And I think in that moment, SMC, they were fixated on both directions, looking down the hallway over to their right, and then they were looking on the other side of the wall, and they just got overwhelmed. They essentially got sandwiched because they were so fixated on one side that you had British Hurricane just move over to the point.
Have to see if they can try to accomplish something similar here. British Hurricane just had one of their members experiencing some technical difficulties in that pause. Seems to be better now to resume play. But now it's about archway control and an early wall trying to catch Hades out.
Oh, okay. Doesn't catch it's Sato who's the one that catches Admiral, and Hades is going down. Yeah, he's gonna come back with a shatter, and British Hurricane shut down Danid. With Hybrid being on this McCree, it's gonna give Danid a lot harder of a time now, Hurix, because now Danid has to be worried about that flash. He has to worry about Hybrid being this threat, and I think that's why British Hurricane is playing so heavily into this main McCree.
Yeah, and look at this next fight here too. This is going to be an absolute brawl, a bloodbath on both sides. Both teams with 5 ultimates ready in play for this next engagement. But the big thing to look out for here is Danid's, his ability to play aggressively. He has the reset.
Oh, it looks like they're overlapping almost. Here comes Health. The Salvari's going to save him, though. And now Johnny's going to answer that back, but they've lost Sab in the process. And Finty's Diva Bomb being able to claim his head put them in the lead in the driver's seat, but losing Health and Hybrid now sets British Hurricane up in the number disadvantage. Smex has this Diva Bomb. If he can get around the corner, and British Hurricane having that positional advantage just didn't really work out for them because SMC booted them off.
This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Tell you what, we've already talked about how good the social teams for British Hurricane and SMC are. I want to see you guys on social right now. Hashtag Contenders 2021. Let us know what you're thinking about this match, because this is a barn burner. Look at this out.
Oh, he tried to throw out the shatter. He's still got the pin on Admiral, and now he's got an Hybrid, getting a 2K the rest of SMC, popping off, being able to force British Hurricane to funnel in this room. That was a great Matrix, too, from Finzy. They found Hades, but they haven't found Danid and Smex, who have just been on a terror with the rest of this team.
Yeah, British Hurricane have hit an absolute brick wall in the form of SMC and the pink right there. Have all the teams made a secret agreement? I mean, that seems like it might be the case. We had some good games yesterday. Might have some real good ones today. I'm really looking forward to that next matchup in EU as well. But look at the way this is starting off. Sana trying to find some early Deadeye value like he did with his last ultimate. Fortunately, unable to find it there.
But now British Hurricane have Danid?
So mean.
And you also had Sana click a shot on Yikid's too. You can see the assist, but SHU'SMONEYCREW even gave up the high ground right here, Hurix, and they're making their way over. British Hurricane feel the pressure, and he's still getting away with it. Can somebody check Danid? Anybody. They literally picked this composition, it seemed to me, to stop Danid. They have the immortality field, but what are you gonna do when you get punched out of it? What are you gonna do when the flash isn't enough, when Yikid is freezing you in your boots isn't enough?
Every time I see this from Danid, every single time someone's back is blown out into a wall, my soul leaves my body. I could just feel it happening to me. All those all that post-traumatic stress, you know, just coming out. But SMC, again, they've just been so solid on this defense.
Oh, no.
They've consistently found these picks with Danid diving in, and he has this reset now. Can even look for a Meteor Strike kill, and in fact, that's what he's going for.
Oh, he's feeling himself. The Immortality Field was forced out too right here. Meanwhile, Hades actually gets caught by the wall, but it's okay. He holds down the shield, but Hybrid taking advantage there. But because he was so fixated on Hades, he didn't see Danid just duffing his way through in those backlines. They trade that, though, and Yickets finally finds Danid's head. And SHU'SMONEYCREW are going to be forced to back off because it looks like they got a little overly aggressive there. They could have held the high ground, but they gave it up to get aggressive on British Hurricane.
Only 40 seconds here for British Hurricane, though. SMC have done their job in making sure that British Hurricane's backs are against the...
What? Hades was walked ahead of them. He was behind health. They needed that shield. That was desperate, and now Hades is out. British Hurricane now are using that momentum to just capitalize off of that mistake. They've got that second point.
Hades has been an all-star, a rock for SMC throughout this series, but in their time of need, unfortunately, just wasn't where he really wanted to be in that situation, and health took full advantage. Now British Hurricane trying to maneuver their way through this final section of the map, and again, have to look out for Danid.
Oh, they know they're all now trying to block that corner, trying to create some space for British Hurricane. They're backing off in this moment because they don't have the sound barrier. They don't really have much to work with minus Hybrid and this Deadeye. That's going to buy some time. Danid actually contested that. He almost got it, but that was a little brave there. I mean, he did have the reset at the same time, but still a little risky in front of the Deadeye. Now British Hurricane are pulling up into SMC's spawn.
Yeah, backs against the wall now, yet again for SMC, but see SMC just piling out. Danid working his way onto the flank, trying to get that top position so that he can slam down onto someone from British Hurricane, maybe pull a cooldown out from Skyrippa if he's gonna find some success. That's how he has to do it.
Oh, wow, you saw the PO immediately come out from Smex there. The sound barrier is going to save Smex in the mech, and now Danid is going on a tear. Every time I see Danid doing the Danid thing, I just can't help but think about The Office and the parkour segment. Just him just flailing around, parkour, dancing around the British Hurricane. I mean, what an insane performance that we are seeing right now from the SMC Heroics.
And now, British Hurricane coming back into this next fight. I think British Hurricane have a really solid chance of being able to take this final objective here. You're seeing them have that sound barrier ready for Admiral. They are already opening to match the windows. Great wall there to deny the value from SMCs. They can step up, play aggressively, get that Blizzard down.
And that's that sound barrier difference right here, because that's going to start the engagement. It's the shatter from health coming down. But Hades gets called up from Yickets, and no one was there to contest. British Hurricane, they moved this payload all down, and look at Danid's position. He was still trying to pressure their backline, but no one was there to stop the payload.
That's definitely a song we've seen SMC sing a couple of times so far in this series, but at least this time, you couldn't really... I mean, I don't know how many times you could really classify the others as a direct C9, really, but SMC, they were going to lose that fight, so we're just going to go ahead and say that at least that one certainly wasn't, but they managed to get British Hurricane down to the wire. No time left at all for British Hurricane. Hashtag Contenders 2021. Let us know what you guys are thinking about this game, how excited you are. Maybe give us a picture of what your setup looks like, where you're watching Contenders today with us. Spending the day.
Or if your pets are joining you too, we always enjoy having those pet pics
little
too.
pause to pro action, but
Yep.
SHU'SMONEYCREW right now have a tough task ahead of them, right? I mean, they definitely have to step things up a little bit. They know that British Hurricane just went the distance. There was a couple of opportunities for SMC to get those really, really impactful stops. I mean, even if you could have stopped the cart on the bridge in point B, that second phase of the map, that would have been huge, because that's where SMC is probably at their strongest in that phase, where Danid can get the most value. A lot of high grounds to play with, a lot of flanking opportunities as well. Now a lot more difficult. Certainly an uphill battle. Now British Hurricane, though, they know what they need to do. They need to mark Danid, they need to check Hades, and they need to make sure that they can get some fight wins consistently and just draw this time bank out.
Oh, look at these angles. Danid utilizing these roofs to get a little tricky of a position, and what? I was like, what? Oh!
That's a stall spot, damn it. We're gonna have to check with the administrators on that one, buddy.
Oof. Okay, you know what? He's being flashy and he's flailing around. The Doofus is out, but they've lost Hades and they've lost Sav, Kyrix. They don't have the immortality field, and Danit is still finding these uppercut picks. Who's gonna stop him? Somebody stop him! What? Taking these angles, playing the Eichenwald like it's an obstacle course? I mean, I didn't know we were training agility here.
Nah, flag on the play on that one. That's a yellow card from my guy. Stall spotting like that. Highly illegal. Penalized and everything. SMC, though, they're going to take that point and say, you know what? We don't even care. It's time to take this dub. Danit's getting back into position, sneaking his way through, and he's behind them. They don't know.
Whenever Dan is on this Doomfist, it's the Infinity Gauntlet that he's holding on to right now. He's just going in right now, and now Sana's behind the shield. The Shatter not gonna find anybody. Hades making the adaptation to note that Danny gets taken out by Finzi. The British Hurricane are still taking an onslaught of damage here, Kyrix. They still have to worry about Sana, who's putting on so much pressure. The Shatter now coming in instead from Hades. They try to save the rest of British Hurricane, but they don't save Yikits with the sound barrier. But at least the sound barrier is just enough for the British Hurricane to hold this game.
Again, it's all about drawing out time. British Hurricane have this high ground to play from. That's certainly going to help them in their effort, especially dealing with Danit, who has to make these rotations to get over, and in so doing, they can catch that Doomfist player out and just draw out more time. The all-important resource here in Overwatch competitive. SHU'SMONEYCREW needs as much as they can possibly muster to be able to get into position to contest this high ground, and British Hurricane are never going to let them up for free.
Hybrid's also burning down Hades' shield. Look at the quick rotation. British Hurricane. Oh, was that a bait? That was a bait. SMC, they backed off, and now they're pushing the payload a little bit. They forced British Hurricane to give up peeking on that high ground. You even saw Smex try to get up there. They have some ultimates to work with to start this engagement with the sound barrier from Johnny, and here comes the meteor strike, Kyrix.
Ooh, they were looking for a little bit more than that. They were looking for a little bit more than that. Now British Hurricane have this high ground. They can open up. SMC has to get out. They literally cannot take this fight for free anymore at all.
Oh, it was equivalent to, I have a plan, everyone, let's go. And then he just got shut down for it. SMC were banking on that because they rotated already ahead of him. Now, as they make their way back, they still have that Diva bomb that they just threw out right now. They still have Johnny with the sound barrier. Maybe just waiting for that opportunity because they have to worry about Yikits in this blizzard, but Hell gets called out. That's a great pick here, and SMC have that sound barrier to take it forward with this payload. They're already getting the point B with nobody from British Hurricane to contest.
Oh, that was such a snappy play there as well from SMC. They can take that point right under the nose of British Hurricane, a team that has consistently done this to SMC throughout this series, but now SMC can get even more value, push this cart for free without having to take those kills. Yes, British Hurricane denies a little bit of ult charge and diving off the map themselves, but SMC are still in a great position with plenty of time to spare.
Oh, here comes the Diva Bomb from Finzi. The Immortality Field actually helping out Dab in that process. Hades goes down first. And British Hurricane, they hold this defense, they get control in position for this next corner, and that was necessary because SMC were on a momentum run after that point B.
See now Hurricane getting it back into position. We talk about time, but while British Hurricane is usually a master of the clock, just a little bit less so now. SMC's blistering pace is just hard to match. Danit is just forcing this high tempo play, and it's catching Helv off guard, where Hades could just come alive and do whatever he wants.
And here comes a flash, try to make sure that that shield goes down. It's Hades that lets loose with the Shatter, and the Immortality Field can't stay up long enough to protect him. Here comes Help, and he's the one with the Shatter. He uses it on Sana. What did Sana do to you, Help? He was low too. I mean, all right. I mean, you get the pick here. British Hurricane also still have a lot of ultimates to work with.
Yeah, I think what happened there is that Helv is just so upset about Danit just punching into his team and then Hades being able to do whatever he wants, that Helv was like, you know what? I'm going to choose one of your DPS. This guy in particular is going to be taken straight to the ground. British Hurricane, though, again, I think it's just important to reiterate that time management is the most important factor here. British Hurricane needs to make sure that they can take as much as they can and make sure that they're as efficient as possible as well. You look at the way that they've been able to stack up this economy a little bit. Fenzi's going to have his self-destruct pretty soon here. The only thing that British Hurricane really had to use in that last fight is the only thing that they're going to be missing in the next one, which means that there's plenty of different resources for British Hurricane to fall back on to deal with Danet, to deal with this aggression from SMC as they push in.
Yeah, they have those tools. They also have that sound barrier. But Sana getting on the top, he still found Skyripper with the Deadeye. Meanwhile, Danet's found Hell. The DPS lineup of SMC is just insane. They're able to tear up British Hurricane, tear them apart from the back lines to the front line. You got Sana, you got Danet, and then you also have to deal with Johnny that's also able to boop the British Hurricane into the position for both of those DPS to take control.
I'm sure you don't, Hurricane. I'm sure you don't like it. Danet definitely popping off a little bit here. An interesting approach, though. Smex almost catches them in the backline. Luckily, Hades was there with the shield to prevent that from being lethal.
The payload reaching the end goal here. SHU'SMONEYCREW so close, having some more time in the time bank. British Hurricane don't want that. Meanwhile, Danet with a meteor strike utilizes that to get into position. He's forced to back off because of the sound barrier that the Admiral had to use. That lets SHU'SMONEYCREW hold on to that sound barrier just a little bit before popping it second. The Deadeye from Hybrid controlling some space, wanted to catch Danet off guard, and it's Hades who gets the shatter. Helva's gonna answer right back, but while a plethora of ultimates are being used here, Sana, here's trading. Hybrid's gonna find Sap too. Johnny's the only support left for SMC for that sustainability, and with Smex getting demech, the SMC, they're gonna have to reset for the end.
I think SMC right now wants a little bit of that fight back, especially now that there's only 40 seconds left and they have no ultimates for this next fight. British Hurricane are going to have respawn advantage, so SMC has no option but to be explosive. They need quick kills, they need a fast team wipe, they need to catch British Hurricane off guard, but you can already see British Hurricane are ready to kind of step up a little bit, absorb some of that instant pressure, and they need to look for Danet because that explosivity is only going to come from one person. It's going to come from Danet. It has to.
They don't have much to work with. They will have the sound barrier at least if Johnny can stay alive long enough. And the Ant Matrix now from Sav to start the engagement. The walls set up by Yickets. Hybrid is forced to back off, and with Sana on the Reaper, he's not going to be able to do much with it because he's taken down first. They're going to trade them for Hybrid, but British Hurricane has the spawn advantage right behind them. The sound barrier is going to send it forward for SMC, and Danny taking out the main tank could be the nail in the offense. He stopped. Yes, he got punched out of the sound barrier. Jurix, that's this huge Danny now. Did exactly what you just said. Be explosive. Allow the rest of SMC to move that payload to the finish line.
That right there is absolutely incredible. And the timing we saw there from Johnny as well, just to make sure that his team could sustain in that fight. There was no opportunity to turn things back around. No opening for British Hurricane despite a respawn advantage. SMC equalize. No time on the clock. Both teams gifted a minute to see how far they can go now in a second phase.
And I just want to highlight that Hybrid is putting in so much work from the British Hurricane, trying to match that against both Sana and Danet, having a lot of damage, a lot of these elims, but while he's on the McCree, you don't have that mobility that Danet has on the Doomfist. Your goal there is to stop Danet from terrorizing your backline that he's been getting away with, but it's so difficult when Smex has that situational awareness to help peel for him. You have the immortality field, you have Johnny speed boosting you out of that situation. It's just the rest of SMC aren't helping play into this game plan that has been so successful for them.
Curious now, British Hurricane, we know that they're capable of considerable amount of things, one of which is winning contenders, but SMC are just playing up to them so well right now. And I don't think this is British Hurricane making just a tremendous amount of mistakes and playing poorly because they didn't play yesterday. I think they're genuinely playing pretty well right now. It's just SMC is actually matching them in this tournament. And you can see already British Hurricane stepping up. They have that Torb. This is to try to deal with some of that instant pressure. They also have a lot of shield damage that's going to be difficult for Hades to deal with as they step up. They have to take ground away so they don't lose their shield.
Yeah, on that tour, Yikis is gonna try to live a lot longer now too, but Health won't really be able to do much. Those little wristlets can only take you so far, even if you have 4 of them. And Johnny too, getting the environmental on Finzi as he gets DMX. SHU'SMONEYCREW, this is momentum. This is just straight momentum that we are seeing right now. And that time bank is gone from the British Hurricane. They have only 10 seconds to touch this point.
Not a lot of time to get there, especially when you're already missing Hybrid, who's just got off of respawn, and SMC is staring a Deadeye down your face. Danit is also breathing down your neck. How do you get this job done?
That was a good rotation from British Hurricane, avoiding that though. They used that wall in the corner to get there quickly, and now the rally from Admiral, but they've lost health. Hybrid is gonna try to match up. He's sick and tired of it, bringing the doofus matchup to Danit. He's about to get meter strike, but he gets stunned. Admiral, that was huge. The rest of British Hurricane have come alive. Hybrid and Admiral finding these picks, and this is the switch that we needed to see. Hybrid's like, you know what? If we can't deal with you with the main McCree, we'll deal with you by bringing the fight over to the same matchup, the Doom v Doom. They can't get off the payload now either because it's set to overtime.
This is good news, though, for British Hurricane. With that cap, now they have bought time for themselves to go up, maybe look for a pulse bump kill, maybe pull out an immortality field. If they can do that, then Hybrid has the allowance to step up and try to make a big play. You can see already SMC jumping down.
That trigger control right there, Yikins, I like it. He saw Danid charge in, didn't utilize that pulse because he knew he could have that mobility to just try to get out of that situation, but Danid still found Skyripper, and now Admiral's dead. Meanwhile, Smex gets a 3rd remech kill onto Health, or just general, but that was a Shatter being unleashed from SMC. British Hurricane aren't going to be able to touch this point, but their spawn is right there if Hybrid could live long enough, but he can't. He can't. British Hurricane, they get wiped out. Yikits had a good plan right there with the pulse bomb. He was hanging behind, trying to be a little sneaky, even got the stick onto the Reinhardt. But you have to deal with Sab's immortality field too. It's just, when you're by yourself like that, you try to start that off with the engagement, Curix, but Yikits just couldn't do it alone. And Hybrid was even popping off, and British Hurricane, they were doing such a good job, but the positional advantage from SMC and the aggression, I think, is what allowed them to pressure the British Hurricane out.
Yeah, I think being able to drop down and then pressure into a choke, a natural choke right there. British Hurricane just couldn't maneuver through, and then all the pressure on the back end as well with the self-destruct, with Danid behind enemy lines as well. Just too many different fronts for British Hurricane to operate on. So, British Hurricane, they get stopped. You can see that check mark box in the gate after point A, kind of surfing around right now, but at least British Hurricane, this is winnable for them now. That they at least were able to get that much done, and it seemed like that fight was not going their way on point A until we saw that rally turn the tides pretty significantly. Now, though, SMC, it's their turn to step up. It's their turn to try to play these short corners, take these angles, get Danit into a position, get Sana into a flank, and if they can accomplish all of that, all of these rotations, there's no question they're going to be able to take point A. It's about getting into those positions to begin with, and now they're going to be dealing with the Torb as well.
Yeah, British Hurricane actually opting to stick with this Torb on the defense may be a really good idea because they're going to have that Molten Core to stop the rotation, but still, is Danny going to do it again? All right, no, actually, he's on the low ground here. He's going to be charging in with a fist, and they found Hybrid. That was amazing follow-up and good communication from SMC. They noted that Hybrid was low, and Danny just closed things up, and now Danny, he has to watch out. He almost got booped up, and he still found both supports. Look at Hades, he's right there to help back him up. Hades is also just popping off, also getting that pin onto Finzi to make sure he can't get a remech pick, try to replicate that of Smex, and now they're going to be able to get this payload moving.
Yeah, you can see right now, SMC, they're going to be doing basically the same thing here as British Hurricane, trying to push their way through a choke with no time left on the clock. So A, you have to win the fight, and B, you can't step off of the objective. You're forced into a position you don't want to be in. At least for SMC in their favor, they're not playing against ultimates here.
Yeah, because that was such a dominating fight from SMC at first here, British Hurricane couldn't build into those ultimates, and now they have to worry about the Ant Matrix. Hades with the Shatter. It only found Yikis, and he gets away. He's about to get Molten Core, and is this actually going to happen? British Hurricane are going to have the tools necessary to hold SHU'SMONEYCREW. They've lost Danit already. The spawn is right there, so anything can go, and now the Shatter. This is what we were looking at. You gave British Hurricane the time to get those ultimates, and that was your biggest mistake, Shoes Money Crew. British Hurricane, they take map 3, and now they are at match point.
And that right there is what a win condition looks like. When you have these ultimates that are just so good at clearing areas out. You have things like Blizzard, Gravitic Flux. You have things like Molten Core as well. All great options to just clear out an objective. When perhaps you don't have control, you can then steal it back. British Hurricane, I mean, literally by the skin of their teeth, able to take that map and take the lead for the first time for their side, at least in the series. And SMC, I think right now, they need to go to a map that looks very similar to Eichenwald and try to just clean up those tiny, minute errors, because that's all that's really missing here. Both these teams obviously playing on such a very high level. It's just about cleaning these little things up, because SMC had some advantages in that series, just about making sure that they can capitalize on them.
Yeah, I'm wondering where we're going to see SMC take us, because right now it's doable. We're seeing these team fights here. We're seeing how close it's getting. But at the very end, when you have to consider those tools, those ultimates that could really make a difference in controlling so much space, you mentioned the Molten Core, the Shatter too, that is the game breaker. And I'm actually not surprised to see our next map being Escort. It's going to be map number 4, and we're moving on to Junkertown, which is going to allow us some of those open angles to allow these hit scans to pop off. They're going to have to play around the angles that maybe Dan is going to come out on with the Doom Fist. So British Hurricane, hopefully they can keep that momentum up, because they're only one map away from moving on through the winner's bracket.
Yeah, this is a little bit, admittedly at least, a little bit of a curious pick. And from my perspective at least, because again, this is SMC picking this, and this is traditionally a map where you want to be able to flex your long range hit scan. That's traditionally why teams go to this map. There are some other different things that you can pull out here, certainly that SMC I think are going to be looking for. But if we're talking about the historical approach to Junkertown, you look at these two teams and you would think, okay, well, British Hurricane have hybrid. They have the setup for these long-range duels. They could go things like Echo. Yickens is a very, very solid Echo. There's a couple of different looks that I think British Hurricane would be really strong at here. Even if you go with that rush style composition, British Hurricane have shown that they are able to compete with SMC here. This isn't really, I think, giving you like a massive advantage in terms of what you're capable of and what has been successful so far throughout the series. So I'm curious to see what SMC has in store here, because obviously there's a plan. It's just one that I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if British Hurricane's going to opt to be on the defense first, to take full utilization over those long-range hit scan angles that hybrid could take, or if we're going to see SMC actually instead, because although we talk a lot about Danid, Sana's been a really solid player all the way through with the rest of SMC. He does have that McCree, he does have that Hanzo that he could go on, but my question is Danid going to stick to that Doom, or are we going to only see the Doom when we see Junkertown get forced into those close quarter fights like in point B, or even that last point where all that chaos happens? You have both of those walls that you have to be worried about. It could be Danid's playground essentially. So as we get set up for this map, British Hurricane have to look out for that, because that could be a threat that proceeds after that first point.
Yeah, I have to imagine that SMC is probably locking in the rush here. Maybe on defense at certain stages, we could see certain things like the Devil Shield come out. Obviously, SMC hasn't been shy about pulling that kind of composition out, but I think SMC is going into this thinking, okay, we're going to pull this rush out. We like what we saw with Sana taking these off angles, threatening on flanks. We like what we saw even, looking back at some of the compositions that we saw on Volskaya. Maybe it's time to bring those back out, because that was even looking pretty close until we unfortunately lost 2.5 minutes on our attack. So I think SMC certainly have looks that they can go to. I'm just curious where the confidence on this pick comes from. I think that's more of the question. It's less about, do they have something? Because clearly there are several things. We talked about them already. But where does that confidence get inspired from? That is the major question mark, I think, with this pick on Junkertown. Because again, if you're talking about playing defense, love Skittles, by the way, totally looks like he is like not enthused. Actually, well, is it really that bad?
So I get grumpy when I wake up. I am not a morning person. It's fitting, Vicky, Kitty, and Skittles and I were one of the same.
That's fair. That's pretty much what I look like right now. To be honest with you.
That's not true.
Just like
you can't lie to the audience like that when they can see you.
Slightly more disheveled, slightly less put together, if you guys have any pictures you want to share with us, if you have any thoughts on the match so far today, any matches that are yet to come as well, very simple. Hashtag Contenders 2021 on Twitter. You just use that hashtag, type something up, maybe throw a picture in. If it's broadcast safe, we will then put it up, especially if it inspires a little laugh or maybe some insight or something like that. So we focus now ahead. It's Junkertown, it's SMC's map pick, and here's that rush that we talked about, that McCree that probably inspired the confidence for this pick.
Oh, the Hybrid has already gotten set up, and he's already building up this damage. Look at this beam. And now SMC are taking too much of that damage. They also have to worry about those turrets that they were forced to take care of, and Hybrid gets taken out by Sauna. Talking about Sauna, he can back off a little bit, and he's holding that longer angle behind when the rest of British Hurricane are so fixated on the front line. Specifically, Hades was just got taken down as he was swinging his hammer around, and Yikits was slowing him down.
Yeah, holding close here is never a question of if, it's a matter of when. And win is about right now. British Hurricane do finally win this fight. Respawn advantage certainly heavily in their favor, but still a really, really solid start, I think, especially from Sana. Remember, SMC likes this style because of what they can accomplish with Sana on that McCree. This is something that isn't going to get checked as much because there is no diva in this setup. There is nobody that can combat the McCree on a one-to-one in this composition, so expect Sana to keep taking these angles.
Wow, that charged up orb actually hit up Sauna there. He took some damage, and the Immortality Field had actually already been used up. Meanwhile, the Photon Bear and the Teleporter is going to let British Hurricane go that high ground. SHU'SMONEYCREW now having to watch out from the back. Did they not notice the Teleporter that was there? They gave up the high ground, and they gave up the Ant Matrix, but the rest of British Hurricane surrounding SHU'SMONEYCREW. It's like a SHU'SMONEYCREW sandwich literally out here. I mean, money sandwich doesn't sound yummy, but it's definitely in favor of British Hurricane as they get that first point.
I'll take a bite. Why not? As long as I can keep it afterwards. British Hurricane, though, have got 5 ultimates and the first point capped out already. SMC did kind of spare themselves the opportunity to kind of take some time away, and that's important here because now they have this drop-down potential, but they're going to be dropping in to a lot of pressure. Blizzard. We have damage amplification coming from both Helve and Skyrep, but we have Gravitic Flux that is going to be able to separate SMC, put down a ton of damage as well. There's just so much that British Hurricane have at their disposal here.
Oh, here we go, though. Hades is trying to get into position. He has a shatter, and he tried to isolate Yikits there, who still had the cryogenic chamber to just hide into and charge up. Meanwhile, though, the rest of SHU'SMONEYCREW, specifically Hades, getting a 3K, charging in, finding Hybrid and the Fire Strike onto Yikits. I mean, so aggressive sometimes in holding these front angles, but British Hurricane were not expecting that after he let loose with the shatter.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a surprise to British Hurricane as well because they were feeling so confident with 5 ultimates on the table. The only thing they were missing was Hybrid, that wall. Certainly, that's probably one of the more impactful ults that they have at their disposal, but at least for them, they might have it in this next fight. Now it's about map manipulation once again, trying to take away positions, using some creativity with these teleports.
Yeah, they already were able to teleport to the side, but Hades has found Yikits again. Not too sure if he was caught off on the low ground and that teleporter just didn't help him out or if he fell, but now British Hurricane have swapped spots with SHU'SMONEYCREW. This doesn't look right. You gotta get that payload moving, not SHU'SMONEYCREW, and they are forced to drop down.
Yeah, so a little bit of a swap up, I guess, but SHU'SMONEYCREW re-instigating a nice wall there. And Finzi barely able to get out with his life as well, just taking a little bit of that area pressure. But even still, you see SMC turning these engagements and taking back control. British Hurricane is absolutely struggling to steal away this high ground control from SMC. And they don't have that same level of advancement that they would otherwise have if it was like a rush comp or something similar.
Yeah, honestly, I was wondering if Finzi had used the Gravitic Flux to stop the rotation from SHU'SMONEYCREW and trying to contest him, or if he just used it to get out of position away from that Diva bomb there. But he used it nonetheless, and he makes a swap over to the Diva, and they deleted Hades. Yeah, wow, he had no chance.
My man got Thanos snapped.
Oh, but the turrets, the hybrid turrets, actually finding Danit and Sab, looking like they just overextended a little too much here, and now SHU'SMONEYCREW are at the big disadvantage as they have to wait out for Hades and 3 other members. British Hurricane has some breathing room now here. They could turn this corner without expecting SHU'SMONEYCREW to rain from above.
This is so important that they're finally able to accomplish this task because British Hurricane were stalled out. And yes, they are looking very successful, especially when you look at the stat line from Fenzi there, but they're down to about 90 seconds left. SMC did such a good job holding out on that high ground, and now they can actually rotate around using Sana as a means to get into position.
That was beautiful. That was from Johnny too. A great follow from the Boop, and he has a sound barrier at that. And Sana getting that Deadeye pick off of Hell. That's going to be the main tank down for the British Hurricane. Yickens has the answer with a Blizzard. They've frozen Hades and Smex. Hades taking a lot of that damage. There's nobody there to save him. Johnny's forced to back off. He's quite literally the epitome of one, but Dandit is still making the comeback. Smex somehow didn't die in that whole phase of the Blizzard, and they still pushed the payload. British Hurricane, seeing the situation, taking full advantage of that, seeing SHU'SMONEYCREW drop like flies. Heroics, they take point B.
Oh, this is interesting here. We're seeing a swap. Sana matching the Symmetra now. And Helv started to go over to the Reinhardt, decided against it, and is back on the Orisa here. So a lot of shield burn on both sides. Still that pick potential coming in from Dandit, but control, I would say, is still in favor of British Hurricane. You have that Meg.
And you also have those turrets that got deleted, but, you know, being able to build into that damage is key here for these longer fights. Dandit just trying to get into an angle. Fenzi trying to isolate him as that threat. The Mortality Field has already been deleted from SHU'SMONEYCREW, and Hades is frozen again, by the way. He has the Shatter, and everybody in British Hurricane lined up for a Hades shish kebab. The Shatter cleaning things up. British Hurricane, they had those tools here, but SHU'SMONEYCREW, they held the defense, and they're about to get the sound barrier and the Diva Bomb for this next fight.
And I'm starting to think, okay, maybe it's time for a Helv swap. Gotta match the Reinhardt to make sure that Hades just doesn't pop off like this, but even still, no swap for Helv. So Hades still has that allowance to just do whatever he wants and take control.
There's a sound barrier here from Johnny. The photon barrier used up from Hybrid. Health gets taken out by Smex, though. Great follow-up to allow the rest of British Hurricane to get into position, but now British Hurricane, they're going down. It's SHU'SMONEYCREW pressing their advantage. Take a look at this time bank, too. British Hurricane have less than a minute to get that payload to the finish line.
And they're losing bodies in the process as well. I mean, Fenzi just lost his mech. They just lost both of their supports as well. British Hurricane are playing up.
Oh, no.
To SMC, who are just taking more and more kills. I mean, granted, that time at least, it was just Fenzi remeching. But that's time off the clock. Precious time at that. And SHU'SMONEYCREW have this photon barrier in this next fight. One of the best ultimates right now in this meta.
Yeah, especially when it comes to giving your team enough space to utilize that rush. Here comes the photon barrier, and now being able to build into that damage is key here. If you are Sana, Dandit dropping down like it's hot with the Meteor Strike. Hybrid is making that swap over to the Doomfist now to try to contest him, but it's going to be too late. Hades got two, by the way, with that pin. And Skyripper, although he's found Dandit, it's just too little too late. British Hurricane cannot touch this point. This is where their journey ends, and SMC, it's their time to do the same thing on the attack.
I have to say, this has been one of, if not the best series that I've seen Hades play in a long, long time.
100%.
I mean, he is absolutely just handling British Hurricane. And time and time again, we're seeing...
Oh, I
like
love
that.
it. That's a puppy face. I love it.
Puppy?
It looks like a puppy.
It's clearly a snake. It's very obviously a snake.
I would give that snake anything it wanted. All the treats in the world. Super cute. Uro. I love it.
Well, British Hurricane, they don't love what they accomplished on that attack. If we're going to steer it back in, British Hurricane definitely wanted a little bit more out of that. And we're talking about Hades, and I think Hades has definitely come alive and found a little bit more confidence, especially in this tournament where he's going for these insane plays. You know, we're seeing a lot more of these meaty shotters coming out from him. You look back even yesterday, his performance against Raspberry Racers, really consistently landing big value ultimates. Now, even here today against British Hurricane, the former champions in Europe from last tournament in June, able to do the exact same thing against them. incredible play from Hades. SMC has definitely stepped up, and now it's British Hurricane stepping up quite literally to the payload, looking for this early hold.
Yeah, look at Danny wasting no time. Already coming out of the gate swinging, quite literally. And he's going to try to get into position, but they've lost Johnny. And that's going to slow down their approach because now losing their main tank, both supports. Although Danid still found Admiral, he's alone right there on those back lines. And Smex is about to get demaxed.
You already see Sana on this little bit of an off angle. And remember, when you hold close, it's never a question of if, it's a question of when you are going to lose a fight eventually. The British Hurricane just trying to buy as much time as possible. Clock management coming back into effect once again.
Well, the wall is trying to isolate Hades. He just drove right over the payload, though, to get into a better position. The rest of SMC are over to the side. Hades is by himself. They're trying to help heal for them, and Smex found health. That was a great save here. They trade that for Sab, but their spawn is right there, Hurix, so they don't really have to worry about making a journey to this defense like British Hurricane do.
Yeah, win just got a whole lot sooner for British Hurricane to potentially lose this fight. Granted, they did take that kill on Sana. But it's still going to be cleaned up. Finzi, oh, they actually get away with Finzi. So now British Hurricane are back as 6.
And British Hurricane have 3 ultimates to work with. They're about to get Sound Barrier 2, SHU'SMONEYCREW. That was their opportunity when they took care of health. And now he's really back with the rest of the team. They're trying to stop Finzi from getting back in the mech, but it's not too late because now he's out of the mech again. It's the only chance he really has is to get a remech kill. And Smex is just going to leave him alive because the rest of SHU'SMONEYCREW, they're going to get away with the fact that they didn't have Finzi there. They're going to get away with cleaning up British Hurricane.
You see now, both of these teams stacking things up. SHU'SMONEYCREW has been pretty consistent when we've been seeing these 5 versus 5 ultimate fights. And they get another one. This is going to be a big one here at that because British Hurricane have already drained half of the time bank away from SMC. So getting stopped here and losing eco, devastating.
Look at the shatter from Hades. They lift him up with the wall. He can get into an angle. British Hurricane, no, the sound barrier out for both these teams, but except SHU'SMONEYCREW has lost Sab. That's going to be a trade, and they even things up real quick, put themselves up in the driver's seat, putting them in the advantage, and cleaning things up. They used all their ultimates here, except British Hurricane have just been deleted.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you see that Thanos snap coming back in. The only half of the world that got dropped out of the server was the side of British Hurricane. All their players got deleted. But now British Hurricane, they have that advantage that we saw SMC taking in their defense, where you play up, hold up on this high ground, you have eco advantage, you have positional advantage, a very considerable one at that. But they're actually taking the fight straight down to them. Need to take out Danid, and they're successful at least in that.
I'm surprised Danid wanted to take that long distance fight just in front of Hybrid's face. Sana has a teleporter to close in the gap, and that's the difference. Truly seeing the Sim Beam go burr. For all you members watching right now, SHU'SMONEYCREW are going to be able to get through here, and British Hurricane having that high ground.
That's a very important position to hold out from, and they've been holding on to that Blizzard for so long. SMC still making that rotation, but they get caught. They are caught completely.
Got the Blizzard too, but they have the wall that they were able to retreat to, and so that Blizzard didn't affect SHU'SMONEYCREW on the other side of that corridor, but Finzi definitely did when he pressured them to go through it. So British Hurricane, they're going to get into position again, Hurix, and SMC are going to reset.
That same exact position that caught British Hurricane for minutes on end could possibly be the same case here for SMC.
Oh, the double wall coming in. Double mid window. Hellbound Sana, though. And Smex is frozen. Danny's just trying to get onto those backlines. Meanwhile, Hades is about to get the shatter, and Help is already holding on to it. They're not even going to have to utilize it because SHU'SMONEYCREW notices when the fight should just be respected. But British Hurricane are still sending it forward. They're giving up the high ground. They drop down. The shatter isn't going to land, though. Here, Help found one, but Hades didn't find anyone. Danny's charging in, and he gets a 3K. He lands on top of British Hurricane. He gets taken out by Hybrid, but Hybrid, you're gone. The rest of British Hurricane are going to meet you in the spawn.
That is such a clutch finish there for Danid to be able to just finish that one out, because British Hurricane, they were looking to kite that fight. But SMC closes the door on them, more specifically Danid closes the door on them. Still though, British Hurricane have an inroad here. Sound barrier to match Johnny's, but it's about the Blizzard. Can Yickens get value with this one? He held the first one for a long period of time. He needs to get this one out quick as soon as he can get it up.
You see them trying to take that fight on the high ground. Meanwhile, though, Smex is still pushing this payload. The sound barrier from both these teams activated at the same time. Sana has a Deadeye. He tries to get out of position as Finzi actually tries to boop him, but he's low. He's gonna go for that Diva Bomb so that way he can reset real quick. And Yickens can't even take full utilization over that Blizzard that you were talking about. And now SHU'SMONEYCREW once again pushing that payload. Once they're done cleaning up British Hurricane, they have that Shatter going into the next point.
God, their rush just looks so good with Dan on this Doomfist and Sana taking these different angles, and even with Finzi being as good as Finzi is and blocking off a lot of that pressure, mitigating. We gotta stop that from happening. We gotta be able to prevent that. At least this time around, British Hurricane get an advantage.
That just looked really funny. You could see that Hades is feeling himself. You could see the confidence radiating from SMC, but they can't get too over ahead of themselves because, guys, British Hurricane's at match point right now, and they just stopped them from getting to that finishing payload box that they want to highlight here. The Shatter's still online from Helv, too.
I'm wondering if Helv wants to go for a little sneaky play here. Hades has been really successful with this, but it looks like a more traditional approach. Just hold out the shield, prevent some of this damage, then just try to win out the shield ward later on. But you're at a significant disadvantage right now with half of your shield already taken out. But they gave Helv the opportunity to fully regenerate it.
Goes Sana, just trying to get an angle. It's going to buy some space. They're going to respect him here. SHU'SMONEYCREW, they're about to get another Danid Meteor Strike, but he gets taken out by Finzi. They stop his approach as they see what angle he was trying to take. The payload's nearly right there, though, Curix, and SHU'SMONEYCREW are just trying to take this a little bit more passively.
Yeah, Hurricane know that they have Helv ready to go with an Earth Shatter, but they have multiple members of SMC surrounding them at the moment. Smex is still in the back line. They're just trying to hold that kill for a little bit longer to make sure that, again, they're just trying to take as much time away from SMC as possible. Given the rotation time here, SMC might still have 2 fights left to go, which means British Hurricane has to be efficient here. They can't blow everything in this fight unless this draws on a little bit longer than it's looking like it is going to.
And now British Hurricane also have all these ultimates too. If they could deal with Helv here, the Immortality Field isn't gonna let him, and now the Shatters come out. Johnny saving SMC with the Sound Barrier, and Danny even got a little bit of that Sound Barrier too at the very end when he was able to back off. Now Hybrid has that Deadeye here, and he's already on the back line. SMC not trying to isolate him instead of Smex, who was trying to get a little cheeky angle and contest it. Danny's low too, and trading in numbers, British Hurricane have their spawn right behind them. Meanwhile, SMC are down. They have less than 15 seconds to get this payload moving.
This might be the miracle defense that British Hurricane absolutely needed. They got it earlier on Eichenwald, now looking to accomplish it a second time in a row here. SMC relying on Smex, that remech. They need kills though.
That's that reset, yeah. At least he can get back into the mech here. British Hurricane, they trade that for Sana's Helv. They finally have the number advantage though, and Helv won't be in this fight for the Shatter. SHU'SMONEYCREW, Smex is incredibly low after losing Sad. They won't have the Immortality Field. They won't have those extra heals. Instead, they just have Johnny and Sana making that desperate swap over to the Tracer. British Hurricane finding Smex, getting this Deadeye, and stopping Sana. Hybrid is on a terror right now, and this is what we were seeing. We're seeing both these teams trade, and the Blizzard may just be the nail in the coffin.
Oh, that sound barrier is clutch there as well from Admiral. Now it allows Helv to get more aggressive. They have to get back to the objective, though. They have to clear things out. They're getting kills, but they're not coming in succinctly enough. Gotta be quick about this now.
Well, Helv is just taking care of both the supports from SMC. The sustainability isn't there like it is for British Hurricane. They do have the Photon Barrier to help create some space, but now Yickens! British Hurricane, they did it! Despite the challenge that SMC put up right now in this series, the British Hurricane, they were at match point, and now they take that final map, letting them go through that winner's bracket. That was nail-biting, though, Hirix. I know that British Hurricane is sitting at the edge of their seats.
Absolutely. This is probably more than they bargained for. Absolutely. SMC surprised today. Raspberry Racers certainly met their match yesterday. SMC came up close, though, here today. Remember, those are the 2 teams that we saw SMC lose to have that pretty, admittedly disappointing performance last tournament. It seems, though, SMC is poised to make a little bit of a rebound in this one. Yes, they dropped to the lower bracket, but they look really solid against the former champion, or rather, I guess, the current champion.
Yeah. I mean, this is a team that still remains consistent as they are, and that's why it's been so difficult to dethrone a team like British Hurricane. Even though, we talk about how unstoppable they were last year, it's a different roster, and we're still seeing the same thing continue on. So now, with a lot of that competition firing up here, that's it for that first series, and British Hurricane, they're going to be sitting in the winners finals already. Taking a look at the updated bracket, if you guys are just tuning in right now wondering, wow, what did I just miss? What a hype series that was. Well, definitely rewatch that because it definitely was hype. And now British Hurricane, they're moving on. And the next series is going to be Ex Oblivione versus Falcons Esports, where the winner is going to be going to have to face off against British Hurricane in the winners finals.
And think about how important that matchup in the lower bracket is there as well. Sheer Cold versus SHU'SMONEYCREW. Those are two incredible teams that have to fight that early on in the losers bracket. I mean, whoever comes out ahead there obviously has a long road ahead of them, because they'll also have to play the winner of Raspberry Racers versus the winner, or the loser rather, of EXO versus Falcons Esports. I mean, there's still just so much talent left in this tournament, and some of it is already in the lower bracket. That's absolutely insane. But of course, as we do have a winner, and we haven't even spoken to them this tournament yet, because even though they have a technical win, it was off of a bye, and therefore we didn't talk to them in this tournament so far. So excited to do just that. When we come back from this break, folks, we'll have a member of British Hurricane to talk to. Stay tuned.
Are you a person? We'll see about that. Can you prove you're not a robot? Well, I guess you aren't a person then. Are you subscribed to the Overwatch Contenders YouTube channel? Well, no worries, because everyone and everything is welcome at Overwatch Contenders. Yes, even you. By hitting the subscribe button and bell icon, you can support your favorite Tier 2 players and teams as they climb their way up the path to pro. This one gets it. I couldn't be more proud.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Skyripper from British Hurricane. Skyripper, how are you feeling after a pretty intense series at that?
Feeling pretty good, but not happy with our performance. Need to play better.
Interesting. I mean, certainly, obviously, SMC was playing pretty well there, but how do you guys rate your performance today? If you guys had to go with a grading scale like 1 out of 10, with what you guys know you're capable of through scrims and everything that you've been preparing, where would you rate yourself in accordance to 10 obviously being your absolute peak, 1 obviously being the opposite of that?
Maybe 8 or 7 today, in my opinion.
I mean, we saw a lot of creativity certainly come out. That's, I think, where we saw a lot of the value from British Hurricane. Certainly, you guys are really, really solid with the TP plays, some of the rotations that you make. I mean, how much effort was put into some of these plays and kind of drawing them out, mapping things out beforehand, and how much of it is like done in the moment, just making a call, hey, let's do this, let's make this teleport play here, and just go with it.
We had a set TP only on Volskaya, the rest are just in-game. Hybrid calls whatever he wants to go for, and we just go for it.
And speaking of hybrid, and I guess speaking and Favor Finzi as well, you guys had not a lot of time to prepare last tournament with some new additions, but you guys still made it work and had some big performances that allowed you guys to capture the victory at the end of the day. I mean, you guys obviously had a lot more time this time around, but you did have Hybrid back into the mix. What was it like preparing for this tournament as opposed to the last tournament? Are you guys feeling maybe a little bit more prepared this time around, given the more time that you had to build that cohesion?
Yeah, I think we're more prepared than last time for sure, because last time we had like 3 or 4 scrims with the entire squad together, so it was kind of scuffed. We improvised a lot. But now it's feeling better and more consistent, I think.
Okay, I mean, after you said you guys didn't do your best here, you felt like you could do a lot better, and you also mentioned that you felt a little scuffed in the last tournament, but now that you guys have had some of that extra time to kind of iron out those wrinkles, do you guys feel confident enough to take the entire tournament again, where, you know, Falcons Esports may not be a problem after looking at the next series, since Ex-Oblivione and Falcons are going to be playing against each other next?
Yeah, for sure we want to win, and I think we can win. I think everyone thinks we can win. But Falcons are a really strong opponent as well, so we'll see what happens. I think we beat them though.
And was there any sort of insider within your series against SMC where you guys were trying to counter Danit in particular, since, you know, British Hurricane has had that experience of playing with him?
We kids wanted to go Torb. We said no, not Torb, and he went May, and that's it.
Yeah, the Torb kind of worked though a little bit on Eichenwald, man. I mean, kind of the objective. It sort of worked. You got to give him at least like a half credit, right? Just like a little bit of something.
Yeah, Torb was fine.
I mean, just the last thing I guess to talk about. I mean, obviously, you know, you guys are moving forward. You have Falcons Esports. You expect Falcons Esports to be a pretty tough opponent. Where do you rate the rest of the pack? Because I think that was my biggest question with EU was, you know, there's so much talent still, I guess, behind you guys, or, you know, in the same maybe tier. There's EXO, SMC, there's Sheer Cole. I mean, there's so much left. Where do you kind of rate everybody else?
Every team, like Sheer Cole is pretty good on Double Shield. They suck on Rush because Asking can't place him. EXO is, I don't think they're that good right now because they had many roster swaps. I think SMC are like top 3 with us and Falcons.
They're past SC or Sheer Cold then. Okay, interesting. I appreciate that insight, because again, I think there's a lot of questions with regards to some of the top teams in Europe. It's definitely very top heavy right now, but at least for the moment, you guys are looking like a potential finalist here. We'll have to see what you can accomplish. Congratulations on your win today, and best of luck in your next, I mean, what is going to be a very tough series in that winner's final game.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, nice talking always to Skyrippa. Love chatting with that guy, but of course, we're only halfway done with the day. It's been a long day so far. That match right there took about 2 hours. So obviously, we're hoping to continue some of that same action as we move forward onto our second match. That's going to be Ex-Oblivione versus Falcons Esports. We just heard it from Skyrippa from his perspective that Falcons seems to be another top team. EXO, I think, have looked a lot stronger than I anticipated. We'll have to see. Am I going to be a little bit more accurate? Maybe is Skyrippa going to be a little bit more accurate? I think most people are going to side with the player. Probably knows a little bit more, but we'll have to see. There's still a lot of action yet to come. When we come back from this short break, folks, it's going to be Trid and Necra on the mic to deliver game number 2.
This is a competitive Overwatch Hanzo player. They are waiting for their favorite teams to play again. All they want is more Overwatch to enjoy. Hey Hanzo player, what if we told you there is more Overwatch to enjoy? Overwatch Contenders is here for you, so come and join us. Are you just like Hanzo? Are you looking for more Overwatch content? Make sure to tune in to Overwatch Contenders. To always be ready when Contenders action starts, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. You'll be a Contenders fan in no time.